So in today's video, I want to talk about why I no longer am a big supporter of robotic affirmations, why I don't recommend them, and I know I've recommended them in the past. I know I've talked about them before. I also know there's a huge following for robotic affirmations with Sammy Ingram and a bunch of other teachers on YouTube, but after knowing a lot more about spirituality and understanding it myself and spending years trying different things, I can honestly say to you that it is one of the worst ways you can manifest. And this is because robotic affirmations are a forceful way to manifest. They are working directly against the natural flow of consciousness. Okay, it's like working against an ocean, trying to swim against the waves and getting knocked over constantly by these big waves because you're trying to swim into them rather than with them. Okay. So this is what robotic affirmations are like. I know that there's a lot of people that have had success with them. And that's because it still works. It's still possible to manifest what you want in this way. It's, again, like I said, a forceful way of manifesting. So you can manifest quicker because you're being forceful about it. But there is still a faster way to manifest and a much more natural and better way to manifest than this. And also, not to mention, if you're someone who's robotic affirmed before, I'm sure that has caused you to feel stressed out, or you probably yelled about it, or you've been frustrated, or maybe that's how you are right now, or you know someone who is, you've heard of people like this. Robotic affirmations, the reason that people get so emotional when they're doing them is because they're forcing emotions to come up. They're forcing limiting beliefs to come to the surface very, very quickly and experiencing it all at once. So in a sense, yes, you can manifest this way, but there is a way where you can skip over this entire process. Basically, robotic affirmations are like the ego's way of manifesting. It is manifesting from an egoic standpoint and not manifesting from a higher standpoint, which is what you are. You are higher than the ego. You are not the ego. The ego is like the thinking mind, and you don't want to manifest from this point because it will take over your life. And I will also explain why. So, like I say, when you're manifesting something, the only thing you really need to do to manifest anything is just to be in the present moment. That's like literally all you have to do to manifest anything, is to be here right now, existing, just living your life presently. And if you can, practice meditation, because the more clear and calm your mind is, the faster you will manifest anything that you want, okay? Thoughts themselves slow down the process of manifestation because they slow down the rate at which consciousness can move through you. Consciousness passes through you. Think of yourself like a being which can be transparent, but when you start putting thoughts in there, the thoughts get in the way of the natural flow of consciousness. And I know people like to say that this is a limiting belief, but it is not. It's just that you're manifesting from an egoic standpoint when you are thinking thoughts all the time. When you're constantly in your head, this is not you being present in the moment. And also, talking about limiting beliefs, saying robotic affirmations is a limiting belief as well. I'm just saying. So, anyways, when you're trying to manifest something, most of the time you have to release limiting beliefs because you're holding on to reasons why you cannot experience the thing you want to experience. But you also have to realize that the only reason you have limiting beliefs is that you're operating from the mind. You're operating from the ego. So you think that there's things that could stop you from experiencing what you want, but ultimately those things aren't really real. They don't exist because in every moment you are a new version of yourself. The past you doesn't really exist anymore. It's just that you're constantly still attaching yourself to those past thoughts. So when you live in the present moment, it's like you overcome the need to even let go of limiting beliefs. You just live presently, and naturally your body will return to its set point, which is neutrality. And neutrality is the point where everything manifests. Everything manifests at the point of neutrality. Even if you do nothing and you just live in the present moment, eventually you will come back to the point of neutrality, because that is just exactly where your body wants to exist. Any emotions that you had before, they will simply just vanish. They will just be gone because you're no longer attaching yourself to them. And this is after existing in the present moment for a period of, I don't want to say period of time because time isn't really real, but It's just, if you consistently exist in the present moment, those past emotions and thoughts will become quieter and quieter, and your mind will become quieter and quieter too. Everyone always asks me how to quiet their mind. How do we clear my mind? If you say thoughts slow down the process of manifestation, and that's really just practice. Just practice being in the present moment, practice meditation. These are all the things that people find boring and they don't want to do because they want to find the next best technique to manifest something. When I'm like, this is how you manifest things. If I make any videos on YouTube that cannot be more clear, it's that if you live in the present and you just be here now, calmly meditate 10 minutes a day, practice this for a long period of time, meditate 10 minutes a day, and also live in the present moment as much as you possibly can, and let your thoughts sort of fall behind you. Don't attach yourself to them as best as you can. Once again, you don't have to be perfect. If you practice this, you will get better and better, and your mind will get more and more clear, and you will speed up the rate at which consciousness is flowing through you, because that's all that's happening. Consciousness is just flowing through you, and you will experience things more quickly. The things you want to experience will come back to you more quickly, more quickly, more quickly. Versus, once again, with robotic affirmations. With robotic affirmations, you are saying that these limiting beliefs are real in a way, because you think that you have to convince the subconscious mind to believe something new. You think you have to overcome something. And overcoming something, once again, this is from the egoic standpoint. The higher self transcends. It's like that ocean that I talked about at the beginning. It transcends it. Think of it like a bird flying over the ocean. It doesn't even need to go in the ocean to manifest anything. It just flies right over it. Versus affirmations, you're deep in there. You are smashing into the waves, experiencing huge emotional bounce back, because what you're doing is you're giving all this energy to this thing you want to manifest. You're giving your energy. And then as soon as something goes wrong or you get upset, you see the opposite in your experience and you react to it, that little reaction is going to lead to so much emotional bounce back all of a sudden, because it's like, think of you pulling a rubber band back, and now all of a sudden, since you've been so fake positive about it, it bounces back at you in the opposite direction, and now you experience this huge emotional wave. And you're just going to keep experiencing that if you keep trying to force things, right? So this is why people who manifest this way live a very stressful life, which is very hard on your body as well. I don't think people realize that it's not just about getting the thing you want. It's about the entire life experience that you're living. When you are in your head constantly affirming for something, you are not living your life. And this is actually quite literal, because I'm going to explain what happens. When you are affirming for something and you are not letting that thought fall behind you, what's happening is that thought, it's kind of like you're putting it in front and saying it's more important than everything else in your experience. So now the only way you can move forward in your life is for you to work through the limiting beliefs that are stopping you from experiencing that one thing. So now that one thing becomes priority. It gets put ahead of every other experience in your life. So now essentially what you do is you put your entire life on pause for that one thing. And I'm not saying that just like, figurative speech way. I'm like, no, literally you put your entire life on pause, because consciousness cannot flow through you anymore because you're putting a block in the way. Think of it like one car in traffic, and all the other cars are going to pile up behind that one car. So in the time that you're affirming for that one thing, you could have experienced so many other amazing things coming into your life, so many other good things. You could experience something even better than the thing you're affirming for. But because you're so stuck on this one thing, nothing else can get through until you work through that one thing. So you put your entire life on pause. You slow yourself down instead of just slowing down, because really what you want to do is to manifest something. You have to be at the same speed as that thing, okay? To experience it in your reality, you have to be moving at the same speed as that thing. Like the particles have to be moving at a certain speed so that it can be visible to you in your experience. So when you're affirming nonstop, you're slowing your own self down to a lower level to then manifest that thing. So you're actually reducing your overall experience of life, lowering your experience of consciousness and what you could unfold in your reality just to experience that one thing. It's like you are dropping yourself down to its level rather than letting the thought just fall behind you And when you do that, when you do it that way, you let the thought fall behind you. The moment you have a desire, you realize you're quantum entangled with it. There's nothing left you have to do. You just let it fall behind you and you move forward with your life. Then what happens is, instead of you holding yourself back to experience it, you move forward and that thing transcends this ocean and it rises up to meet you at your new level of consciousness. So you level up in consciousness and manifest the thing that you want, plus additional things that you wouldn't have been able to manifest if you were stuck on that one thing you really, really wanted. So what I'm saying is that you are actually lowering your state of consciousness when you are affirming nonstop. Like, you are reducing your quality of life when you're doing this. Versus if you were to move forward, that thing meets you in the future. And I keep telling people this. When it goes to your past, it doesn't disappear. Your desires, they are never forgotten. They are always quantum entangled with you, whether you say it a million times or not. The moment you had the desire, it became quantum entangled with you and will be for the rest of your life. But when you are affirming nonstop, you're really, most of the time, you're just pushing it further away from you. Like, you're making it more difficult to manifest, versus if you exist in the present moment, you close the gap between the past and the future, so you draw everything towards you. So now that thing that you let fall behind you, think of it like it falls off a waterfall behind you, and then that waterfall has a stream of water that returns back to like an ocean that exists in front of you. So it's like that thing you let fall behind you, it comes back to you because your past creates your future. It bounces back. It's like a ball that bounces off a wall. So if you close the wall smaller and smaller, as in you exist in the present moment, you enclose yourself smaller and smaller, like you make the past and the future kind of condense into the center to where now everything is just in the present moment, you will manifest things so fast. Because think of it bouncing off a wall. It has to bounce off one side, which is the past, and then bounce back on the other side, which is the future. But if you condense everything in the present moment by living here, it's like you draw everything inwards towards you. And now that thing hardly has to go anywhere. It bounces back a little bit and then comes right back towards you. This is why I manifest things so quickly, because I'm always in the present moment all the time. Like, you make the universe smaller. Like, you make your experience smaller. Like the ball, think of it like a circle, and you're going to the point of singularity. Like, you are condensing it down so much that now there's no distance between you and what you want to experience. It's like right there whenever you want it. Rather than if you're thinking that it's somewhere far away from you or in the future, then you push it away from you with that mindset. You push it away from you when you're existing in the mind. When you're in the thinking mind, it creates distance, because the thing that draws things in towards you is space in the mind. So if you can create space in the mind, that is when you are open to receiving. You create space in the mind and you're open to receiving. When you have thoughts in the mind, there's no place for receiving. And that's why when people are affirming nonstop, usually they don't manifest it when they're affirming. It's later on in the day. And those 10,000 other affirmations that they said were honestly useless. You only needed one. The first one was enough. You didn't need to say it a million more times. And then again, I know I get people saying, well, then what about the limiting beliefs? Like, I like when I say affirmations because then I don't feel like, negative about it or whatever. And the thing is, it really doesn't matter if you feel negative about it or positive about it, as long as you are authentic with yourself about what you feel about this thing, as long as you're completely honest with yourself in every moment about what you're thinking about this thing, like you just feel whatever you're feeling and you let it fall behind you, like you don't attach yourself to it. Like, if you experience a negative thought about it after I've talked about releasing limiting beliefs, like if that's something you want to do, if later on you experience that same limiting belief again coming up, all you have to do is just let it fall behind you. Like, your mind takes care of it. Your heart takes care of it. I'm going to explain this in another video, but your heart, your mind, when they're working as one together, it will flip your negative thoughts for you. You don't need to flip your thoughts. It does it for you. Okay? And you don't need to affirm nonstop because, again, it does it for you. Everything that you think you need to do with the ego, the heart and the head, like the higher self and the heart, they do it all for you. It's a process that's meant to be natural. It's not meant to be something that the ego has to do. When you're doing that with the ego, how are you supposed to live your life if you're constantly in your mind? Like, why would they design a world where you have to exist in the mind and repeat something over and over to get it to manifest? It doesn't make any sense. And how did you manifest anything else in your life? It's from just existing. Okay? Like the head and the heart, they work together. And if you live in the present moment, it will flip your negative thoughts. It will make sure, because like I said, your body wants to exist at neutral. It doesn't want to manifest negative things. It doesn't want to manifest anything you don't want because it knows you don't want it. Your higher self knows you don't want something because it can tell by the emotion that comes out. It can tell by your feelings towards it. It wants you to exist at a place of neutrality towards everything. So it will make sure, it will flip those thoughts for you. You don't have to do it. That's why you can trust that you can just let it fall behind you and it won't manifest that thing you don't want. Because that desires you have, honestly, like, they are meant for you. There's no way you can stop it as long as you don't believe there's a way that you can stop it. Like, if you trust you're quantum entangled with it and there is no possible thing in the entire universe that could stop you from manifesting that thing, it will manifest. You can think all the negative thoughts you want about it and it will still manifest because your body will always bring you back to neutral again and again and again. It will do it nonstop as much as it needs to. But when you're constantly thinking thoughts as well, this creates separation between the mind and the heart. And this is when the heart cannot understand properly or communicate properly with the brain. And this is when you get a bunch of impulses that are sent down and then an incorrect response to them. And then that is when you get emotions coming up. And this is just why affirmations just don't work so well at all compared to just allowing things to happen. And it is just such a better life experience. Like, if you take anything from this, it is just such a better way to live when you kind of surrender things. And that's not surrendering to like, oh, I'm never going to get the things I want, I just have to surrender to whatever happens. No, it's surrendering to the idea that your desires are already immediately entangled with you the moment you had the desire. So you can't break that bond. You can only bring it closer to you by existing in the present moment, by living your life. Just live your life, because think of consciousness flowing through you, right? It's passing through you. That's all it's doing. It's just passing through you. So what you want to do is accept your current experience, surrender to what's currently happening in your life with the knowledge that if you surrender to what's going on right now and you don't fight it, you don't fight the flow of consciousness, this past experience will flow through you much faster, so then the new experience can come in. Think of it like a river flowing in a circle, and you're currently experiencing this past version of your life right now. If you can speed up how fast the river's flowing through you, you will speed up how fast the past version flows through you and gets out. You know? Like, you don't keep it in you. You don't keep it stuck within you. You just let it flow through you, and then the new version comes in, right? You have to think of it this way. That is what's happening in your experience, is that things are just flowing through you. And so if you fight the current experience, you're going to stop the flow of consciousness and you're going to stay where you are. So all you have to do to keep moving is just accept where you are. And also, the interesting part about this is that all the things you've ever desired in your life exist. They're already there waiting for you. They're only waiting for you to allow consciousness to flow through you. That's why people say you can surrender to the universe and then everything will manifest. And that's the truth, because the moment you start surrendering, you start living in the present moment, you just speed up your entire experience of consciousness. You speed up the flow of consciousness through you, meaning that you seem to move through time faster, but really you're just experiencing more life in a shorter period of time, so-called. You're speeding up the rate at which you understand things, you learn things. This is why I receive so much information about the universe and I understand so many things. I can learn some things so quickly now, so fast. I can manifest things very, very fast because I allow consciousness to move through me. I allow it to flow through me. If there's something I don't enjoy that I'm experiencing, I know not to fight it now. I know to just let it pass through me. As they say, this too shall pass. That's what they're saying. This too shall pass. If you just let it go, you don't attach onto it, it'll pass through you. Because why would you want to hold on to something that you don't like? Why would you want to hold on to an experience that you're not enjoying? You'd want to let it go behind you. Let it go down the waterfall behind you. And then what will return in its place is something better. Because I promise you, your higher self, if you trust it, if you live in the present moment as much as you can, again, don't have to be perfect. If you just trust it, it will always give you something better. It's not going to give you worse things. It's not going to manifest the thing you don't want if you're allowing things to move through you. The only time you manifest what you don't want is when you get stuck, when you aren't allowing things to move through you. You're not accepting of your experience. You're not trusting. So you get stuck to the point where energy builds up so much that now it has to create an outward experience outside of you that basically gets you to release the emotion you need to release. And you know what's sad about that is that you will end up with really sad situations or really hard situations, things that make you really angry or really sad or upset, whatever. Like, they make you feel a really strong emotion because there's so much energy that needs to be released. But it had to get to that point of being happening outwardly. It can happen as a health condition too. It can happen as, you know, something traumatic in your life happening. It's because it had to get to that point for you to release this hold you had on consciousness, to allow it to flow through you, to allow the emotion to be released. And again, affirmations back things up. That's what they do. It backs up all the traffic. And then now also, when you do manifest the thing you want, if you are doing robotic affirmations, once you manifest that thing, oftentimes you're going to experience a lot of emotional ups and downs in other areas of your life with all the things that you've been holding back on, with all the things that haven't been able to flow through you. So now you're going to be trying to affirm for those things. You're going to be trying to manifest those things, and then you're going to just hold it back even more. It's basically like you're holding yourself back from your true potential when you are stuck on affirming for one thing. You're giving away your power to one thing, and that's it. Like, when you have an entire infinite universe that you could experience. Because your job is to select what you want to experience, and then you allow it to flow through you. That is your job. That's all you have to do. You're not required to do any of the other stuff. If you're doing a bunch of other stuff, you're just wasting your time and energy, and you're stressing yourself out. And this really does have an effect on the body, so that's why I'm pointing this out, and that's why I really wanted to talk about this, because long term, like, affirmations, robotic affirming is not good for you unless, like, the only thing I will say, the only time robotic affirmations can work for you is if you are saying them and you're in the present moment and you fully trust that it's yours. And you're saying it from a standpoint of fulfillment. You're saying it just to remind yourself, like, oh yeah, like, this thing is mine. And you're existing right now, like, in this moment. You're being very present as you're doing it. You're not attaching a bunch of emotion to it. You're not someone who has a lot of attachments to things. Like, that is the only time I would say it. Because, again, even if the thought of the desire, like I said about saying it once and letting it fall behind you, even if it comes back up in your mind, again, let it fall behind you again. Like, it doesn't matter if it comes up again. That's fine. Any thoughts that come up, just let them fall behind you. That's all you have to do. You're just trying to keep the flow of consciousness moving at all times. So that's like the only thing you have to do to manifest anything in your life. Like, if I could condense down everything I've ever said to one thing, it's just keep moving forward. Like, keep allowing everything to flow through you. Don't get yourself stuck on any one thing. So if you have thoughts come up and you're wondering, like, oh no, like, should I have thought that? Immediately let it fall behind you. If you think, oh no, like, I thought about my desire again in this way, maybe I should have thought about it in a different way, let it fall behind you. Like, anytime you don't know what to do, just move forward, move on with your life, move to the next thought, move to the next thing. Just keep moving forward. That's like the best advice I can give, is keep your mind clear, keep your mind open to possibilities, allow it to be open. Don't get stuck on any one thing. Thoughts themselves are not bad if you don't get stuck on them. Just allow things to just keep flowing through you. It's a flow, a stream of consciousness. Anyways, I talked a lot in this video. This was so much talking. I hope this is helpful. I just feel like every time I make these videos, I made some on TikTok too. I have like all the robotic affirmer people come after me and say to stop creating limiting beliefs. And I'm like, I'm trying to erase the limiting beliefs entirely, because existing in the present, you transcend everything. It is the way to manifest that you were designed to manifest. Like, it is the true way to manifest, is basically without the ego at all. It's trusting that the head and the heart, they work together. When they can communicate fully without you interrupting and getting in between all the time, that is when you will manifest things at a rate that you have never seen before. I promise you. And that is also when you will experience these higher levels of consciousness that will blow your mind. That's the one thing I wish I could get across to people, is that when you start to move through consciousness very quickly, things get weird. Like, the world just doesn't look real anymore. Things don't feel real anymore. That's why when people talk about robotic affirming to me, I'm like, it's just, it's just hard to talk about because you see everything from a new standpoint. Also, my ears ring super loudly right now. I've had experiences of leaving my body, coming back, being pushed out, returning. Like, I've had dreams where I have felt like I am still awake. Like, my dreams have been so real that it's like I'm existing in this moment and I'm just flipping through different realities. I didn't know if I was still dreaming or awake. Like, I'm telling you, things get really funky when you get to a certain level of consciousness. You kind of got to slow yourself down a bit. So, just please take it from me that I know what I'm talking about when I say this stuff. Like, I promise you. And I know some people, again, are like, well, don't talk about having a high level of consciousness or being enlightened. Like, someone that's enlightened or whatever would never talk about it. And I'm like, well, it's really hard to get your point across if you're not being honest about what you're experiencing. You know, like, this is just me being authentic and telling you the truth about my life and what I'm experiencing right now. Like, I don't know how else to put it. I don't always have words for everything. So I'm going to end this video so I stop rambling, but just trust in this. If you have questions about this, please let me know. For those of you that are members, I do Q&A videos every 2 weeks or so. So please leave your comments below, especially if you are a member. Join members if you want answers to your questions, because that's where I post more things. If there's enough comments below this video, I might also make a member extension of this video with additional details, just answering your questions. So yeah, definitely join members if you like additional content, if you want additional content. And yeah, thank you guys for your support, and I will see you all in my next one. Okay, bye.